Good evening to all the UK listeners, watchers, and that. My name's Paul from the Cannon Club. We have just witnessed Arsenal's first loss of the season, unfortunately, at the hands of daylight robbery. I say it again, daylight robbery. As usual, I am joined by my boy, my friend, Mekz. How are you doing? How are you feeling, bro? Like raw emotions. Because me, I don't even know what to tell you how I'm feeling, bro. I ain't got the words. I ain't got the vernacular.
I mean, obviously, there has been an injustice in the match,
Mm,
but the injustice is it's a matter of it's a moment, it's a minute, less than a minute within the match. Um, we didn't necessarily play too well. It was always going to be this kind of sticky kind of game like this. Um, so yeah, that hasn't helped. And then our favorite topic at the minute, the goalkeeping situation. It's not a good feeling. It's just not a good feeling. And with this, midweek's match, our 3-1 loss to
with
West
Sam.
Ham, it could have all been forgiven with a win today, with a
Hmm.
positive result. I don't know, would have given a damn. But now I don't want to say the alarm bells are ringing, but since the beginning of the season, we've been talking about performances really. And yeah, now we're here.
I don't know. You know what? Like I've been focusing on the incident which led to their goal, mostly because that's the most infuriating thing. But to be honest, there's many aspects to kind of investigate and to look at. And within ourselves, we weren't great as a team in terms of our own general play. The only players I believe who can kind of lift their head up high is probably again Declan Rice in the back four, in my opinion. Um, Not including Raya. Yeah, the back four in terms of the defenders. Um, I don't even know where to start. I was kind of going over in my head how to kind of flow with this review of the game, but I guess we might as well just go to the incident at question. What was your take in terms of the goal that Anthony Gordon scored, which was ultimately the match winner?
Yeah, to be honest, there isn't much else to talk about. Like it was 0-0 for what 60, 70 odd minutes. Like
Mm,
there isn't really much to say. Back and forth kind of game, jostling for position, trying to get one on top of the opponent. Willock has come off the bench and killed us.
mm.
A lot of energy, high energy player. I don't want to say my feelings about Willock because
No, he's free it.
nah, the world knows I've always said we should have kept Joe Willock. Now,
Mm,
25 million, whatever it was, to Newcastle was very good. Obviously, he had a great loans. Was it the loan spell before he got signed
yeah,
full on? Yeah, permanently. Like, I just didn't like. This is the kind of player we're here looking for number eights, buying guys for 65 million. We had one.
mm,
And as far as I'm concerned, without maybe the more refinedness, and he can still do with more refining, don't get me
yeah,
wrong,
of course, yeah.
this should have been someone we held on to.
Mm,
Besides the matter, he's come off the bench. He's, you know, this ball was it in? Wasn't it? It wasn't in.
mhm.
Angles have shown that I don't know what they need to see. That I guess they say the whole ball has to be out,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
enough of like I don't understand. I don't see from the angle that was available.
Mm,
Nothing was like legitimately nothing on the ball was touching the line.
yeah.
So at least from that angle, if that's the angle you're using to judge it by, the ball is out.
Hmm.
If that's the only angle you don't have to play with, that ball is not touching any part of the line and the ball is out of play.
I
But
d-
you've played on, right?
yeah,
Now,
yeah.
granted, Willock has done what he needs to do. That
Hmm.
like he has to continue, whether he knew it was out or not at the time. He has ran his ass off. He's caught that ball, caught it, and
Yeah.
put it back into the area, and that is what he's supposed to do.
Hmm.
So 2,000,000% kudos to him in it.
Yeah.
Then I don't know where I sit with this. Ultimately, the ball comes in. Joe Linton's hands are on Gabriel's back. I was listening to Gary Neville on commentary. He was saying Gabriel has ducked down to flick the ball like beyond Joe Linton, and Joe Linton's hands have come out. So it's not like he wasn't pushed. But ultimately, at the same time, that his two hands on the back would have impeded him from doing the flicking action. So even still, it's a foul. Like I can hear Neville's argument to a degree, but even still, he's been impeded on there. Maybe not pushed, but he's been impeded on. So it's a foul. The ball's come back across the goal. Sorry, even before the ball reached Joe Linton and Gabriel.
Brother, yeah.
This flappy-handed keeper, because all he's been doing is flapping at stuff since he's got here. The guy that they said comes in and collects crosses and collects balls and he's great in the air and this, that, and the other. I've seen the stats too, but he ain't showing it. And these are the errors that are happening. And then next week, I will start in the starting lineup again.
Yeah.
And I mean, we'll get into the depths of the conversation, but Ramsdale has to ask to leave. I'm sorry. Like, really and truly, especially if he plans on playing for England this summer, Ramsdale has to ask to leave, because you can't tell me this is based on merit. You can't tell me good performances will keep you in the side. Everyone else further up the pitch is getting moved out and swapped out if they're not playing well enough. You wanted to come and buy 2 number ones, so swapping them out should be easy. Like, it doesn't make sense. Raya has probably cost us there. He gets a hand on it. It doesn't go, to Joe Linton. Yeah. Or if he just stays in his goal position, it might have fallen to him better or whatever. You could have caught it or whatever. He's let Joe Linton come in, did miss the ball back across the goal. Gordon practically has a tap in. And they've checked the offense of the ball going out. They've checked Joe Linton's hands on Gabriel. They checked for an offside as well. And they deemed none of these things, a mishap or a foul play. And they've given the goal and we've lost 1-0.
I like working, even just like taking what you've said and just working backwards from it. I'm sorry, but Raya, I can't right now. Brother, give Carl Hein a going goal right now, because it might sound dramatic, but on at least 3 occasions, this guy got caught under the cross. And I'm not understanding why. The first time, I think Saliba luckily cleared up, because Callum Wilson would have had like a header and it would have been 1-0. Trippier's running to the byline. You have to think about percentages. He's going to dink it, because if he fires it across, he's got no angle. 3 times, and you're missing the flight of the ball, so much so that you've committed one way and now you're having to backpedal, or you're flapping at the ball. I've just been having arguments in the different group chats about this whole goal. That, yes, Raya's 100% at fault for that. If he catches the flight of the ball, he can even pluck that out of the air, or at least get a hand to it, and that chance is gone. Secondly, Gabriel does make a mistake. He does try to stoop. If he just tries to, just say, let me just head it in any direction I can and not stoop, again, we're probably not here. But regardless of him making a mistake, Jolinton's got 2 hands on his back, impeding him from doing what he's trying to do. 100%. That's a foul. Because if that's anywhere else on the pitch and it's not leading to a goal, whoever was it, Atkinson today, I don't know who it was. I think it was him. They're calling that a foul, 100%. And then the ball being out. You can't tell me that the absence of evidence is then evidence. You can't say because we can't give the evidence. I'm sorry. It's not with something like this. Not when it comes to, I know people say like, you always give the advantage to the attacker. I hear it to an extent. But bro, like you can't, like this one is just like, you know what? It looks like it's out. So we have to treat it like it's out. This weren't if they didn't see any gap, if we didn't see any gap between the ball and the line, even from the distance we were at, I would have said, you know what? You kind of got to give that to the attacker. It might have gone out, but there was daylight. You can see from how far we were back. I just can't. And then we think about, all the incidences that happen in the pitch, how Bruno Guimaraes is still on the pitch after doing up UFC on Jorginho's head. And it was hearing that, it was dangerous play, like, if it was an elbow rather than a forearm. So are we allowed to be using our forearms to, not like they went up for a header, he's run past him and used his forearm on the back of his head. That's a red card offense.
It's inconsistent, man.
And that's just the whole problem. I mean, we're going to talk about the game. Don't worry, guys. But it's just frustrating when these are the things, when you can't build consistency with the refereeing decision. Because ultimately, even the discussions I've had in group chats, people have said next week, you go somewhere else, you go to Man City or any other game, might be flipping Wolves versus Brentford. And then, I don't know, Mbuemo's tries to do that against flipping who plays for Wolves? I don't even care, Kilman or something like that. And it gets called as a foul. There's no consistency. But it's always when you go up north, when you go to the Newcastles, the Liverpools, the Man Uniteds, the refs just lose their heads up there. And, and lastly, Gordon's offside. I think they said that they couldn't tell when the ball comes off Gordon. I mean, when it comes off Joelinton. But at that point, he's in front of Raya and Gabriel's the only player in front. You need two defenders, if I'm not mistaken. And he's offside. And again, all this absence. Okay, we just give the goal. I can't believe it. But, bro, earlier this week, we lost to West Ham 3-1. And Arteta rotated 8 players. And some people, not too pissed off about going out of the Carabao Cup. It's the 4th choice trophy. Our season will not hinder on whether we win the Carabao Cup or not. That's for sure. But we're coming to a point now, we're in Arteta's 4th season. We've won an FA Cup outside of when we were actually playing good. And that's it. You can count the Community Shields as well if you want to. But Arteta needs to start adding some trophies to kind of consolidate this period of excellence, if we want to call it that. And to do the rotations he did midweek, and now to come to Newcastle with players like Saka, who again looks very much off the boil, Martinelli looking very much like, I don't know, he couldn't beat a man today. Or who else? Resting Saliba, was it? Resting Tommy, all this stuff, only to come and give this performance where we just looked again flat in the midfield outside of Declan Rice, and up front just absolutely missing. Like, I don't even know. I'm not putting Arteta in. This is not Arteta out. It's not. But there's some questions about maybe squad management, maybe even about the quality of certain players, because once again, we've got Fabio Vieira doing foul throws, and I just don't know if Arteta's out here, if there's like we're seeing some more weaknesses or some more things that he needs to kind of grow in, or kind of like, because it's good to see rotations, but if we had won today, then we could have been justified, but we didn't. Yeah. I don't know, bro. I don't know. Any thoughts on squad management of Arteta in the last week or so?
You mentioned Arteta, and I was genuinely thinking this during the week, because I didn't expect to be dumped out of the Carabao Cup, especially not in the fashion we did. Just little to no fight at all. And I was saying, this Arteta, he needs to be careful, because if no trophy this season, no trophy next season, he's gone. I would be shocked if he stayed. And if he stayed, it's based on goodwill, ex-Arsenal player, this, that, and the other, young manager, some other kind of nonsense. If Arteta wins no trophy this year, no trophies next year, he should lose his job. I hate to say it, but ultimately, especially for the money spent, if this was, Arsene Wenger days, we weren't spending a lot, 10 million signing here, 12 million signing here from some obscure club in France, then fair enough. But money has been spent. And more so than anything, any signing, he's going to have to die on this sword that is Havertz 65 million. Because as much as we have been a certain amount of patience with him, whatever you thought he could come in and do, especially in midfield, haven't necessarily seen it. What I will say today on Havertz, though, he put himself about. He worked hard. I think today Havertz saw that, we don't know obviously what's going on with Odegaard. He wasn't in the squad full stop. And Havertz probably thought, well, if I could show myself, I think with how this guy is managing his team, there's a potential I could keep out the captain. Obviously, I'm going to have to be playing out of my socks to do so. But I think something like that must have went through Havertz's head. And I can't lie, he did put in a level of performance we haven't seen before. It's not what we want from him. He's an attacking player. Again, like he's diving into tackles and putting himself about and stuff like that. I would say that's, like I always say, bare minimum stuff. If you're not having a good game, that's the bare minimum. And he wasn't, shy today. I'll put it that way. So I'll give him kudos for that. But this is the sword that Arteta is going to die on. Unless he can pivot and Havertz becomes a centre forward for Arsenal and starts banging some goals. I know we were probably a bit light in midfield today. I still would have started Havertz up top. I don't care if Nketiah scored a hat-trick. Like, this is definitely Havertz up top type match. Jorginho in the middle. Unless you can, I can't necessarily pull out anything he did today wrong. However, for a match like today, I would have went Elneny. Like, ultimately, that's legs in the midfield against a very energetic team as well. Because I can't say Jorginho done anything that, Elneny couldn't have done with more energy. Yeah. And I know we're really going into the depths of the squad when we're talking about Elneny, but at least that's one segment, one factor he has over Jorginho is the energy and what he can bring to the team. I don't even want to say like the team was lackadaisical or anything like that. It was just just nothing in an attacking sense was brought to the party today.
No,
everyone their attacking boots at home. Defensively, until the mishap, we were relatively solid. Yeah. I don't know what to say, man.
I mean, I think that's the frustrating thing. If I was part of the defense today, I would be quite frustrated because Callum Wilson didn't have a sniff. None of them really had a sniff. I think that was maybe their first shot on goal. That chance or whatever that was. I thought the defense was really good today. Saliba, Gabriel, Tommy, White, they did their jobs. Made it very difficult for them to create chances. I didn't think that Newcastle were very good. Similar to what you mentioned about Jorginho, I would have put Elneny. I'm sorry, like I understand maybe at home, maybe for more control, and maybe away from home, it's more important to try and gain control. But I felt like we got bypassed so easily in midfield today, especially with Rice playing on the right 8, I think today he was. So he's not in a key position to kind of be tracking back, although he did try from time to time. And this 65 million Havertz, again, I wrote it online after the game. I said, as much as I didn't think he was amazing, I think this was one of his better games at left 8. I thought he put himself about. There was a couple good drives forward that he did on numerous occasions, a couple good passes. Again, just the lack of quality in the final third. I think even towards the end of the game, if he just plops the ball over the top to Trossard, he's in. And again, just those little moments. But in terms of actually putting himself about, I saw at least there was someone, there's a fighter in there.
Yeah.
But to say that, 15, 16 games in, including like competitions and stuff, it's not good enough. You don't spend 65 million on that. And where I'm going next is, I'm going to say a couple names, Mekz. Maddison, Kudus, Doku. Fam, these are all players that have been brought in the last 12 months, 6 months or so, and they all cost cheaper than Kai Havertz. We've got Ivan Toney. We've heard that there's like 100 million price tag. Obviously, he's not worth 100 million. But if you had that 60 million still in the wings and you make a couple of sells, there's your money. He probably might be worth it. But in this market, it's not really even about that. Bro, we spent wrong with this guy. And what I'm now worrying about is you've got Declan Rice in a player who's 100 plus 5. And he left West Ham. He left the likes of Souček, Paqueta, even incoming Ward-Prowse to come and play with better players. And for the large part, when they're fit, that's the case. But with all the form and the injuries, Declan Rice is currently our best midfielder. This is not what he came to do. Bro, in January, we need to make signings. Up top and in the middle. What do you think? Because
You're right. We're very right with that. I don't think Declan Rice came to Arsenal to be Arsenal's best midfielder.
No.
He came to raise his level, of course. He came to play with world-class midfielders. And yes, compete and maybe become one of the best midfielders at the club and in Europe or whatever, in England. Did he come to be the best? Like he could have moved to a lot of teams if he wanted to be the best. And it's like I just feel like we're embarrassing ourselves a bit here.
Yeah, 100%.
With Declan Rice from West Ham, who's walked into our squad, and yeah, there should be a level of, you hear the stories, and there may still be these stories one day if Declan speaks of, I watched this guy in training and he was insane, and this guy was amazing, and this and the other, like a level of starstruck.
Yeah,
but it strikes me as if he's not starstruck. Like, is he seeing anything that gives him, promise, sort of thing? Because okay, he signed a 5-year deal. He can easily sit around at Arsenal for the next 2 to 3 years. Well, as soon as we're at that 3-year mark, it's time to start making decisions. He can start, forcing a move, or I'm not signing a new contract. And then what? He has plenty of time. Even if he does leave the club at 29, 30 years old, the kind of player he is, barring any major injuries between now and then, he will still go on to be a bloody world beater. So we have to bring in the necessary talents. Recruitment has to be correct. Odegaard, as we've said, has to step up. Partey cannot be depended on and needs to be sold. If Rice is going to be the left 8, then cool. We need to go buy a new DM or whatever the case is. There's a lot that needs to take place to not embarrass ourselves when we're trying to make big signings, like especially from lower clubs. If we're signing, someone from Man City, then it's definitely a case of they may come in and become, Arsenal's best player because they're coming from such a big team. So for you to come from West Ham and be Arsenal's best player, so you men are embarrassing yourselves. Like this shouldn't necessarily be the case. But yeah, I agree with the sentiment. We have to go and sign a striker. If we're not signing a striker, because that is the get out of jail card. Havertz plays up front.
Yeah.
And I have a degree of confidence that we will see better. We have been seeing better. Every time he's been asked to play up front, we've seen better. Maybe usually it's just like the back end of games, last 20 minutes or whatever the case is. I think he should get a run as the striker. Instead of Nketiah, at least. Not when Gabriel Jesus is about. But yeah. And then, maybe we then... That's kind of ticked off the striker box for now, because I can't lie to you. As much as I would want Ivan Toney ain't 100 mil. Like that would be egregious if we went and bought him for anything like that kind of money. And then Arteta should really be called into question it. But yeah, I don't think we would do that. So it leaves us with actually going to buy an 8 if that's what we're after, or are we going to go and buy a 6 that's going to play with Rice and Odegaard in the midfield? One or the other. But I think that's probably the immediate signing. Repurpose Havertz as the striker, second choice, third choice, or whatever. Give that a go, because we can't. There is no way we can't. I know no one wants to hear that, but we can't sell Havertz. Let's be real. Let's be very real with ourselves. We cannot sell Havertz unless we want to enter the cycle like we did with Pepe and just be loaning him out. Which means he's failed anyway. Like we can't sell him, so we have to try and use him at least to the end of the season, at least. But then in the meantime, we go and get someone that can play in midfield to, you know, let Rice do what he came here to do. Let Odegaard play his best football, not these makeshift options. And then these men are having to adjust their game to work with someone that's not comfortable in there. Like,
yeah,
let's do right by those players as well, sort of thing. But yeah, it's not what I wanted to see necessarily. I didn't want to see him at the club, but here we are. Havertz has to be. I didn't, but you know, we're here, innit? Like, Havertz has to be repurposed as a striker at this point. But I'm not taking away from. I don't think he did anything incorrect today. I thought he was all right today. But yeah, at the same time, we don't spend 65 million for someone to just be all right.
Yeah, no, I mean, you made a lot of really good points, and I think you're thinking very pragmatically about how to use this 65 million player. I mean, you know, like you said, no one wants to hear that, oh, this is how we spent 65 million, because if we wanted a striker for 65 million, I think we could have gone and got Tony for 65 million, and maybe a tad too expensive. But again, in this market, you know, we move. But yeah, like you said, we're not going to sell him. We can't. No one's going to touch him. Not for the money that we paid, or even anywhere close to that at this moment. The guy has 1 goal in definitely over 10 appearances, and that's it. No assists. I don't even know about key moments. So right now I'm at a bit of a loss. But as we kind of venture further up the field, I'm going to sound a bit like an idiot, because we kind of waxed lyrical about Eddie last week in terms of what he can do. But you know what? I'm going to go back to something you said, and it's, what do we expect from Eddie? What are we expecting from him? Because I think because we want to see us win, our expectations of the player goes up. And what Eddie is very good at is kind of like reminding you that there is some quality in there. But again, what he's very good at is reminding you as well that I have limitations. And today he was a non-entity, just like he was against West Ham. In the clips I saw of that game and today, if you told me he wasn't playing, I would have believed you, because I did not see this guy do anything of substance. The ball didn't stick. He didn't hold it up great. No turning out and driving or anything. Absolutely nothing. And it just makes me think again, the game management, you know, as much as, you know, Havertz hasn't been great, he had to start up top with Jesus being out. And then maybe bring Eddie off the bench to cause some palaver if we're in that state. But it just wasn't good enough today. And he goes another game without scoring away or even being a part of the game. And I just don't know, you know, again, with the decision making, I know Eddie is a very hard worker and I love his spirit. I love what he can do for us at times, but he's a bit part player at time. And again, we're seeing that when he gets that run of games, he hits, he misses, but overall, his overall performance is just not good enough. What did you make of Eddie today?
You've said it. It's just a lot of hard work, putting himself about, but he's not a stick him away from home on especially these fixtures that turn out to be like evening fixtures, Monday night football, when it's always just gritty and these fans are up for it. He should not be seen in those kind of matches. He shouldn't.
Agreed.
We saw where Eddie's best at home against mid-table, lower mid-table relegation fodder. That is him. When Arsenal's going to have a lot of the ball, Arsenal's going to create a lot of chances. That's where Eddie thrives. It's clearly not at home, as you were saying before. What's this? 19 matches now away, no goals. Isn't that enough evidence to say that this doesn't work?
Half a season.
More than enough evidence to say that this doesn't work. This is why I'm screaming out for Havertz. There is no shame in, and I can't even believe I'm saying that.
Yes, it's such a scream.
But there's no shame, because I mean, Trossard should be who we're saying, but Trossard's starting games this season at least has been poor.
Yeah,
he's been poor. He came off the bench today, was delivering some corners that were all trash. It's not Trossard this season at least. This is the typical We've got the big man, 6 foot, whatever he is. You know, he
Mm.
can hold the ball up. He can bring the ball down. He can bring others into play. Let him do it. Like,
Mhm.
leave that to him and then play a more skilled midfield or a more combative midfield that can play around him, whatever the case is. Like,
Mm.
it's beyond me. Arteta obviously likes Eddie Nketiah. I like Eddie Nketiah, but I'm not foolish to. Yes, he's he can probably come out and say, yeah, that's my only fit striker, or whatever the case is.
Mm.
Right then, we have to try something else because this doesn't
Yeah.
work. It doesn't matter what way you try to slice it, mate. It doesn't work. There's enough evidence to show that this don't work. So yeah, I don't know how much longer we're gonna persist with this Eddie stuff away from home when there's other options. At least if it's Trossard, I can say at least he tried something else.
Yeah.
Eddie, like I said, whether we like it or not, whether he likes it or not, I would expect Arsenal to be in the market for a striker in the summer.
They have to be. They absolutely have to be. And I think it's because we spent so much money. I still feel like we're still in a building stage. Granted, we should be kind of not saying nearing the end, but kind of putting the final pieces together. But it feels like we still have some work to do. And yeah, that kind of leads me quite well into the attack, though, in terms of the wings. I mean, I'm not really going to focus a lot on Martinelli because I think he's been good generally since he's come back from injury. He had an off game today, in my opinion. I felt he was still trying. He was still trying to go down the byline, still trying to make things happen. But our star boy his star has been, let me not even say it. God forbid. But it's just not what we're used to. He's trying to cut in and shoot. It's not getting on target. He's not beating men. He's not impacting the game. And even now, it's like he's not having those star moments now where he was having bad games, but maybe popping up in 1 or 2 moments and just doing something spectacular. But today, nothing again. And we need a response team. We need someone who can say, yo, okay, if he's having a bad time, I'm ready. And I keep thinking again about this Moussa Diaby that's chilling at Villa, who we were talking about, who looks like a player. He looks like he could challenge for Saka's place.
Moussa Diaby, Mohamed Kudus, all the same players you've mentioned already. Doku. These all the same players we've mentioned already that could have filled this position. Let's get one thing clear,
yeah.
Saka is allowed to have an off period.
Of course.
After all, he's a young player. And this is often why we can't come out and say someone that is 20, 21, 22 years old is world class. How? Can they do it every single week? Like, yes, they can sometimes over a stretch. We've pointed out for a long period at the beginning of the season where he was still getting assists and goals, and he still wasn't playing well. But he is bound to fall off a cliff, especially how often he's played, how he's run into the ground, expectation on his shoulder from Arsenal to England. Like, he is allowed to have this off period. And again, you talked about Arteta and player management. This is where the coach says, pretty much like how he's done with Odegaard, whether that's what's happened or not, right, you need to sit down, take 5 minutes, rest, chill out, come back fresher or whatever. I'm going to play Moussa Diaby. I'm going to play Mohamed Kudus. I'm going to play Doku. Or I'm going to play 100 grand a week Reece Nelson that we renewed in the summer. Like, what? This is your job at this point. He's going to go down at some point. And if you don't know it for sure, you have to plan for it. And if you haven't planned for it, egg is on your face. Like, Arteta has done so much good for this club, but there is so much that we can just see it's just still not there. He's still learning. He's still developing. Doku, for one, obviously has come in as a Mahrez replacement, I believe, at Man City, and he doesn't start so much. I believe he started today and done an absolute madness against Bournemouth.
Absolute madness, bro. I think it's
like
4 assists and a goal.
Like an absolute madness and a 6-1 win, 4 assists and a goal. Like, again, we could say this is similar to the Nketiah argument, maybe just because of the opposition. That's why he done. But these are the level of players you need as the backups at your team. You see what I mean? That can still challenge. They're still good enough to challenge, but they're still raw, still getting used to it all. Like, we can't be scared to drop Saka because there's no one else. Why did you give Reece Nelson 100 grand? Why are we keeping Reece Nelson at the club if that's the case? Like,
unused sub today. I just wanted to add. Please continue.
Yeah, it's bollocks, bruv. I'm sorry. There's no other way to say it. Like, it's these guys, like I keep saying, are gonna go out of form. Like, they're allowed to do that from time to time. How we then manage it is on the manager, and he's not managing it. He's not managing it.
I mean, you think Kudus wouldn't be happy to come and sit on Arsenal's bench? You think, Doku? Where is he coming from? Like one French team, if I'm not mistaken. Bro, these are going to be hungry players ready to just make an impact in one of the biggest clubs in the world. And I like Reece Nelson, but Arteta said on, I think, 1 or 2 occasions about him not being used as much and talking about his fitness in fucking October. I don't know what's going on there, and before I kind of talk about the last thing and then we'll do player ratings, I've just been realizing, bro, I think in terms of, what our team needs in the squad, past like the first 11 or 12 players, maybe 13, is physicality. We're bringing on Fabio Vieira. We've got Jorginho. Maybe you'll leave Mo Oneni on like a 50-50. You got Smith Rowe who's crocked. Reece Nelson. You're not able to, when you need these players, they're not coming on and they're not able to exert any sort of dominance. And then even when you're thinking, all right, get on the ball and do the technical stuff, they're not doing it to the level we need. And I think that's the next stage of player we need to look at, is that we can't go for anyone less than 5'11" or 5'10", unless they're stocky, unless they're looking like a Dama Traore or even Doku. We have got to get some physicality in this team, because once, like, now that Partey's down, even Smith Rowe, who is quite rangy, I think he's like 6 foot or 5'11"-ish. But, if Rice wasn't there today, we're getting El Neni on, and, we've exhausted our midfield options. Maybe Zinchenko comes in as an emergency, but again, he's not the biggest. I just think we're lacking a lot of physicality somehow. And I know we've got Saliba, we've got Gabriel, maybe even Kivior, we've done okay there. You've got Tommy who's big, but we still need to get more of these sort of physical but technical players at the same time who can help us flesh out the squad, who at the very least are not going to get run past. They're not going to get out muscled very easily. I'm just worried now, because again, we're looking at Saka now and we're playing him into the ground, and you won't play Reece Nelson, and he's just, again, I don't even know if we're going to be able to play him out of form. I don't know if anyone saw, or if yourself, but towards the end of the game, he was at like left back or playing on the left side, and Vieira went to the right hand side, and he looked like he was like skipping to run. I don't know, again, if Saka, he wasn't running properly. Like towards the end of the game, he wasn't moving properly. And I was thinking, is this guy injured again? And again, with all these injuries, like what? I just don't know. I don't know. But yeah. I mean, what I will say anyway, to kind of round up this whole thing, is we've been speaking about performance from the beginning of the season, and we said that with the introduction of quite a few players that things will take a while to click. We've now entered November, and I can maybe count maybe 5 at the top of my head, maybe 5 performances where I've said, yep, you know what, we played really well. And outside of that, we've gotten results, and we played well in spells, or had moments of brilliance. But this is not me saying that we need to bring back the way we played it last year, because clearly that got found out, and to an extent it's maybe being found out this season. but I am now beginning to have a couple more doubts in my head about our actual level this season because our performances have just not been that good. What do you think, bro?
Yeah, we haven't got out of first gear yet, and just on the basis of how last season, we came out flying to an extent, and we obviously all got overexcited and thought something was going to happen when it was a long season still to go. So I haven't minded where things haven't quite clicked, but we're still getting results this season. But there's been alarming situations. RC Lons, alarming situation. How we played against Tottenham in parts, alarming situation. Today, West Ham on Wednesday. It's we are not playing we're not convincing. And then it's like we win one, draw one, win one, lose one in another competition. Like now it's 2 games without a win. And we've got Sevilla at Emirates on Wednesday. Won't be easy. But these men need to now come out and, give their all. And even if we do get a win against Sevilla at home, who we got on the weekend? We might mess up to them, whoever that is. Like, there's just no level of consistency. When did we last win 2 games on the bounce?
I'd have to check the fixtures, bro.
Yeah, the fact you say you have to check that, then yeah, it's a bit telling. Like, yeah, the performances have been subpar. We've been getting away with it and sweeping it under the carpet because we've still been getting results. Now it's time to look at this, and it's not emergency at the same time because we know Newcastle are a very good club playing some good football. They got a feisty, they got a little bit edge on them. All that stuff that the Bruno Guimaraes and Joe Lintons and stuff we're doing today. You want your players to do that and stick it on them. So I'm all up for a bit of tussle and all of that kind of stuff. But then if my players aren't doing that back, that's the issue. That's the problem. So yeah, I can't even call out them, man. They play to the whistle with their goal. They play to the whistle. They play to the rules to an extent. If the rules, if the VAR and stuff that we put our faith into don't pull them up, then they get a goal in it. Like it's just that. So, but we need to create our own opportunities to then have some luck to see if we get some luck in those same kind of situations. And 100%. We just didn't have much of anything today.
100%. I mean, the result again, because you think it's the first time we've lost in the Prem. We lost one in the Champions League and we lost obviously in the EFL. 3 losses at this stage isn't bad, but I look at the overall performances of some of these games and I worry that where before it felt like we were cooking, and we're starting to simmer, and we want our performances to start to improve gradually over the season. So when it comes February, March, April, May, we're on the money, but at the same time, when you've got a big game like today, it doesn't matter now about simmering. You got to start boiling. You've got to be on the money. And today, as a whole, despite the ref and VAR and Bruno coming to do UFC, like we didn't have enough, unfortunately. And I thought we were good enough for a draw, but the Premier League, there's no easy games. There's no. You don't get no promises. There's nothing you can do if it doesn't go your way that day. You just got to lick your wounds and go again. And we go again. Like you said, we got Sevilla midweek, and that has to be a win. We need like when you start losing back to back. The most important thing is getting the win anyway, anyhow. And that's what we need right now. So, but let's get into the player ratings. Our time is fast spent, so let's see how we get along, and then maybe we'll double up some of the ratings. But yeah, we'll just see how we go. So
don't worry, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here at all.
All right, today, let's just start. Okay, let's see. I can't remember last time. I'm just gonna let you kick off with David Raya.
David Raya. David Raya, 5. I mean, it wasn't anything great. I would have said 6 at best if it ended 0-0, but 5. That the error, I can't wait to go on socials after this and just see what people are saying, because
Yeah,
you cannot come for a ball and not get it in the Premier League. Like, criminal. You has put us in this position, because then ultimately a man was left with a tap-in, rightly or wrongly, ball in, out, Jolinton foul or not, whatever. You've allowed all of this to even be a conversation. So 5, David Raya.
Yeah, I think I'll go over 5. I was going to go 4, but outside of, I just can't understand getting caught under the ball numerous times in the game. You know, stay on your toes. Don't commit yet. See where the ball's going, you know? And then I can understand, maybe he's a bit rattled. He's thinking the ball's gone out. But you know, at this level, you even know at Sunday League, you play to the whistle. You keep your head on, composure. Maybe that's the reason why he's flapping at this one. It's not good enough. I mean, outside of that, he didn't actually have much to do again, you know, but when it matters, like how you want your keepers, when it matters, when action does come, you need your head on, and he didn't. So I'm going to be a little bit kind and just give him the 5. Benjamin White, I'm going to go for I'm going to go 6. I thought he was all right. I don't think he had any issues, but I don't think anything spectacular today. Nothing that I can think that, oh, you know, he didn't come to fight. He was there. No issues really per se. I thought largely the defense was okay, but we lost. So 6 for Ben White.
Yeah, I will say for Ben White, 6. Just uneventful, nothing more. Yeah. Yeah, you can go on. I'm gonna come back here.
Okay, no worries. So yeah, what I'm just gonna fly through some of the defenders then. So let me just move this way then. Yeah, so we will. Mekz has gone to do a little something. I'm flying solo up top, lone striker. Yeah, so where was I? Gabriel, I'm going to give him a 7. I know people will say he kind of made a mistake with the maybe trying to stoop to kind of flick the ball out. Yeah, I agree. He probably should have gone for more of like a direct header, and potentially that way could have cleared the ball. But a foul is a foul. You can make a mistake and you can be like, you know, you've heard how many times you hear the commentators say, oh, he's giving him a get out of jail free card for that. Oh, if he had just XYZ, he would have been in, or, you know, so it's still a foul in my opinion. So I thought outside of that, Gabriel was very good. So I'm giving him a 7. And similar with his partner, Saliba, not probably the best defender today, as he normally is. Very cool, calm and composed. Didn't really put a foot wrong. Unfortunately, things just didn't go our way, but felt that he was really good again. Just re-signing of the season, showing himself again. Tomiyasu, yeah, Tommy again, just very solid. I really feel for the defense today. I really do. I just feel like they didn't really put many foots wrong today. I don't think they really gave the Newcastle attackers a sniff. And yeah, it's a shame that their hard work wasn't rewarded. So I'll give Tommy 6 as well. I'll give him a 6. So if we go to the midfield, Jorginho, he's going to hold a 6 as well. He's going to hold a 6. I just feel like he was very just average. But again, his mobility in midfield is just his biggest downfall. He just cannot move. And right now, in terms of his ability to kind of control the game and to move the ball, I'm not seeing that quality as high as I would like it, unfortunately. I'm not as down on Jorginho as most people, but he's just not doing it at the moment. And again, this is what happens when your squad players keep playing more games. And then you look back to Arteta and think, you needed a squad player, you needed a backup. Why not get someone young and hungry to come and do that? You know, you went to kind of get someone, maybe he was thinking this person can help us see over the line for the title chase last season. But what about the season after and the season after? But yeah, 6 for Jorginho. I'm giving Rice a 7. Again, he's everywhere. I do think there were some areas where I think decision making could have been better when in the attacking third, but I think again, not really part of his game, but he's just everywhere. Action man, dynamic, full of action. I just think he was amazing. So yeah, 7 for Declan Rice. Havertz, I know I spoke about him doing actually quite well today, generally in terms of his energy, in terms of his what can I say? His overall play, putting himself about, rattling the Newcastle players and fans. It was really good to see, at least. So he kind of gets a bit more of a go. We can kind of see what more he can bring. But at 65 million, it's not what we ordered. But I'll give him a 6. It could have been a 7, maybe had he done like a bit more key moments. But generally, I thought he wasn't that bad today. So 6 for him. Going up top, let's start with Saka. Saka. He didn't really do anything wrong. I'm going to give him a 6. He didn't do anything wrong, but he just wasn't. He wasn't a difference maker. He wasn't. For many games now, he's just been a bit on the fringes. And for all he's done for us, he's entitled to a period of time where he's going to slump a little bit. But it's just no one else has been able to step up, unfortunately, today anyway. And this is where you feel like, you need someone else to come in and do a job to give him a rest and also to kind of bring that hunger back in. Is not to question that from him, but generally there's ways to get different levels of motivation and inspiration. And I think having an understudy or someone who could come in and potentially even start ahead of him would be a good way of doing that. So 6 for Bukayo. Similarly for Martinelli, 6. What I do love about Martinelli is that he's always fearless. He'll continue to go and try and continue to try and make things happen for the team. Unfortunately, came up short. That Livramento did pretty well against him. Just wasn't enough today, but I can't fault him for his efforts, which he always brings as a very minimum. Eddie's getting a 5. I mean, I might even go as low as a 4. I think I'm going to go as a 4. Yep, I'm going 4. I've decided I'm going 4. He was a non-entity today. If someone has a moment where he did something outside of, passing it to someone, please let me know, because he just wasn't involved today. And it was similar against West Ham, just, off a hat-trick, and it's like he's used all his powers and he's got to recharge and reboot. He's got to go hyperbolic time chamber or something. He's just nothing. And yeah, I think that's on Arteta, because I think Havertz should have started up top. But we move quickly in terms of the bench. Who came on first? Zinchenko came on first. I thought Zinchenko was all right. I think he tried to make things happen. I'll give him a 6. But obviously not enough, unfortunately. But Zinchenko, I think there's going to have to come a time when we just stick him in midfield, because defensively, he's just not it. But at least in midfield, he gets to cover. And, I think when Timber comes back, I think that's maybe a conversation that might be had or should be had about just moving him interior permanently and letting the players who have got that more defensive acumen shine in that position. But 6 for Zinchenko. Lastly, I'll do these two together because they came on together. Fabio Vieira. I'm going to give him a 5. I know it's a bit harsh, 10 minutes, maybe 18 minutes, because we had 8 minutes at a time. But foul throw is just a non-starter for me. It's just a non-starter, And again, there was a chance. I think the ball, Saka maybe played it to him, and he's got to just one-touch it to Rice, if I'm not mistaken, or Havertz, and he just plays it in the wrong direction. I just don't know. I really do like the player, but as I was saying before previously about the physicality, and if you're not going to be physical, you've got to exert your technical dominance on people, and he just doesn't do that as regularly for me. And I was listening to other podcasts earlier in the week and was kind of a bit saddened by how down people are on Fabio Vieira, but I'm one of them today, unfortunately. And lastly, Trossard, I give him a 5, 6. I give him a 5. Oh yeah, I'm definitely giving him a 5. 3 corners in a row, not beating the first man is just not good enough at this level. I just don't understand it. I know maybe you're trying to hit a spot, but if the first time you've hit the front man, then you've got to put more power. You've just, it should be one of those things where you're like, at the very least, I've got to beat the first man. So even if it goes too far, not saying out for a flipping goal kick or throw in, but you've got to just think, all right, let me put some more power. Let me do something different, because not beating the first man is just unacceptable. It's a non-starter. But yeah, 5 for Trossard. And Arteta today, I don't think I can give him higher than a 5 or 6. Be decisive, Paul. I'm going to give him a 5. Mainly because, as I said earlier in the episode, we can't be affording to be resting players and nothing happening. We haven't won a trophy in a while. We need to win a trophy. And he's kind of thrown that EFL game. No, maybe not thrown. There was enough quality to win. But you've got to think, if we were playing Ipswich or we were playing Port Vale or Middlesbrough and we went with that squad, that should be enough to get it done. But we'll go into West Ham. They played a strong team. I'm not saying he's seen the team before, but you have to get some silverware this season, in my opinion. And yeah, to do that now, to then go to Newcastle after a loss and to not win, and again to question the lineup, Jorginho in there, not playing Havertz up top. I just think overall Arteta has got to take a lot of blame for his actions this week. And Mekz is back. We're back to 2 up top. I've just finishing basically giving my reasoning for why Arteta's getting a 5 from me today. I think just not, Havertz should have started. I think El Neni should have started in the midfield, similar to last week. And you can't, maybe I wouldn't say throw the EFL, because there was a lot of quality there, but we were playing West Ham. It was a London derby. If it was against Middlesbrough or Ipswich, I would have understood and said we had enough quality on the pitch that day, but we didn't. And now what we sacrificed in losing a potential trophy, especially with only Liverpool being the main challenge there. I'm not happy with that management, and I'm not happy with today's game management as well. It's not good enough. And yeah, so Arteta gets a 5. I've kind of flown through the ratings.
Who did you give the highest score to?
The highest score was Saliba and Gabriel. I gave them 7s. Yeah, so that was it. Is there anyone you want to jump in on quickly and give a rating, or anyone you want to speak on specifically? No.
I think our defense, like I was saying, where they worked very hard. So they probably would have got the highest of scores, probably still 6s and 7s.
Yeah.
But they worked very hard. They didn't deserve that cruel way to go out. Some will turn around and maybe blame Gabriel for his choice of wanting to flick it back and stuff. I think it's just one of those things. I don't think it's necessarily his fault. A lot has happened in that build-up play, namely a ball out of play and Raya, before we can start blaming Gabriel. So, yeah, the defense, their hard work was undone, but the defense can only do their bit. Anyone, you keep a clean sheet, you got a chance of winning a game. And if we don't then go up the other end and create opportunities for our strikers and creative players and attacking players, to score goals, then 0-0 is not something you want to hang your hat on. So we didn't do enough to win the game, that's for sure. Do we deserve to lose? Probably. Maybe not the way we did, but it's not good enough for a team that is supposed to be going to the chasing down the title, going to the end of the season, looking for honours. So we need to do better, man. I know it's Newcastle. I know they were in and around last season, but at the very least, I'm sure the majority of our fan base would have taken a draw before this game. Maybe that's what it was destined to be without this controversial goal. But like I say, you create the chances, you never know. And they created a chance and they've got lucky. So
yeah. Well, I think we're coming towards the end. I'll just say my last little piece. The next 2 games before we go on international break. Again, we've got Sevilla on Wednesday under the lights at home. I think if we win that, we can, and other results go our way, we can start to really tie that. We could tie up that group and maybe start to rest some players maybe for the last game, depending on what happens with PSV versus Lens. So that needs to be a win because we've got 2 losses in a row now, and we've got Burnley at home Saturday 3:00 kickoff. We absolutely have to put them to the sword, and so we can at least forget about this, and we'll just see how the rest of the chips lay, and we go again. But we really need to pick up some form overall. I know it's only the first loss, but I looked at the table today, and if Villa and Liverpool win this weekend, they go above us, and we'll be in 5th. And if Tottenham win against Chelsea tomorrow, they go 5 points ahead of us. City are already 3 points ahead of us, and their big win has put their goal difference quite high up. So we could be 5th at the end of this. And all of a sudden, we're in a little bit of a scrap with Newcastle breathing down our necks a little bit. And we're out of the top 4. So we've got to wake up. We've got to wake up and start putting together a run of form, because we know our Novembers are typically terrible and December's just going to be busier. So Arsenal, it's time to wake up. Mekz?
Yeah, that's you've hit the nail on the head there, where we're about to go into a run in the next few weeks, especially outside of this international break. So time to buck up on ideas, man. And I hope part of the prep and stuff going into the next few weeks is Edu and Arteta sitting down and thinking, we've made a mistake here in the window. It's not all lost with Havertz. Like I said, there is the opportunity to repurpose him, even if it is as a second choice, second rate, ball in the box, striker sort of thing. I think there's an opportunity there. So, but we haven't yet got the player in midfield that we need. And
100%.
like I said, we're here looking at other potential players that could be leaving in the summer in midfield. I personally as well, I was thinking this today, I was watching the match. Yeah. I think it's time we start deploying Zinchenko in there, because Tomiyasu is clearly doing some good stuff. He's back in the team. He's starting important games. Zinchenko, not so much. We're light in midfield right now. That's another thing that we might as well try at this point.
Yeah.
Then I know it leaves us a bit light in fullback positions, but Ben White can play 90. Tommy can play 90. Barring injury, these two are capable of holding down those positions. Why not try Zinchenko in the middle as well?
Bro, we're in sync, because while I was up top by myself, I was just saying that, once Timber comes back, I think there's a conversation to be had about Zinchenko playing interior more consistently, because once he's back, and if one's playing, hopefully White stays injury free. And obviously, it's not like once you put Zinchenko in midfield, he can't come back and play left back if need be. And hopefully we'll have the legs by then. So if White goes down or Tommy goes down, all right, throw Zinchenko back there, and then whoever goes on the right, and when Timber's back as well. So I just think, defensively, he's just not it. But again, I thought he did quite well when he came on in terms of trying to get us forward, and he's great going forward. So let's just maybe get him focusing on that more, especially with our left eight problem at the moment. But
yeah,
let's put a pin in that. I feel a little bit better. Just in terms of getting it out of the system. But at the end of the day, I'm going to go on YouTube and I'm going to see everywhere for the whole weekend that we lost 1-0, and Man United won today, and City won, and Liverpool have got Luton. Yeah, it's not looking good, bruv. So we moved, though. We move.
That's all we can do. 3 points on Wednesday. Did you say our game is on the weekend?
Burnley at home.
Got to be 3 points. Got them man.
Yeah.
Got to be 3 points. Let me just say that much. And then at least we know we can, going into the international break again, reassess stuff. And then once we're out of the international break, same way he done Ramsdale, take right out of the squad. Like, just take him out.
Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. We have been the Cannon Club as usual. Please, 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 5-star reviews on your streaming platforms. That's Apple, Google, Facebook, flipping. So did I say Spotify? I didn't say Spotify. Spotify. Make sure you look us up, Cannon Club Live on all your socials. More digestible chunks. I can't even say it. Digestible chunks. YouTube. We're switching up the style a little bit, so hopefully you're still rocking with us. But yeah, our first loss in the Prem. It's not bad to say that. 4th of November. The circumstances are horrid, but that's football for you. You sometimes you love it, sometimes you hate it, and today we're hating it a lot. But appreciate you for rocking with us, guys. Peace.